Uncovering the Ratzinger Code, the hidden truth behind Pope Benedict XV's resignation.
I suppose there are some updates. I believe there's always something new, but I think there's something particular today, as you intend to share a true exclusive with us. You've been working for some time, for years now, on the so-called Ratzinger Code, examining the circumstances surrounding the so-called resignation of Benedict XVI. Resignations you have consistently challenged, those of Benedict XVI, Pope Ratzinger. It is precisely on these resignations that your investigation is focused. This inquiry, now ongoing for years, has led to your book, Kova, a book enriched with some new revelations you wish to share with us today. What is it about? What are these updates regarding Pope Benedict's resignation?
Yes, thank you, Francesco. This is a shocking revelation. I would ask everyone to give me a few minutes of their attention because this is extremely serious. So, do you remember when Pope Benedict's declaratio was published? The resignation declaratio? Luciano Canfora found 3 Latin errors in it. Ecclesiae Vitae instead of Ecclesiae Vita, ora 2a instead of ora 20a, and commissum instead of commisso. Strange. It was talked about worldwide, and so on. In 2016, 3 years later, Pope Benedict, in the book Last Conversations, said I could have written this declaration in Italian, but there was a risk I'd make a mistake. Very strange. Very strange. So, is he telling us that he did not make any mistakes? In fact, if we examine the text he pronounced verbally on the morning of February 11th, which is the only text we can refer to, because we don't have an original written document by Pope Ratzinger to consult, the only one of these 3 errors that Pope Benedict pronounces is commissum. Yet, in the version you'll find on the Vatican's website, it has been translated as commisso, changed to commisso, which is an abusive alteration. And why is this discovery fundamental? Because, well, we worked on it with input from lawyer Costanza Settimelli and lawyer Antonacci. We set up a study group with 2 famous Latinists, Professor Corias and Professor Rodolfo Funari. The first is a leading translator of Sanuso, and the second is the editor of Lorenzo Valla's works. This commissum completely changes Pope Benedict's declaratio. Indeed, I don't know if we have a slide. Yes, we're seeing it. We're seeing it. We're seeing it on television. Yes. Tell us about it. With commisso, the phrase was translated like this: fully aware of the gravity of this act, with full freedom, I declare that I renounce the ministry of Bishop of Rome entrusted to me by the cardinals on April 19, 2005, so that from February 28th, the seat of Rome and the seat of St. Peter will be vacant. Good. Now, let's try translating it with commissum, which Pope Benedict actually pronounced. And the only formula that emerges from the Latin syntax is this: wherefore, fully aware of the weight of this act, I freely declare that I renounce, to my detriment, the ministry of Bishop of Rome, successor of St. Peter, due to the wrongdoing of a group of cardinals on April 19th, so that from February 28th at 8 p.m., the seat of Rome and the seat of St. Peter shall remain vacant. You see, the difference between commisso and commissum is historically significant because what was falsified to make it appear at all costs like a normal peaceful abdication was, in reality, an announcement and denunciation of the sede impedita of Benedict XVI, caused by the actions of a group of cardinals who, since his election on April 19, 2005, evidently made Pope Benedict's life impossible, eventually forcing him to apply this anti-usurpation mechanism, leaving vacant the seat of Rome, meaning the Apostolic Palace, and the seat of St. Peter, meaning the Roman Cathedra in San Giovanni. Pope Benedict left the Apostolic Palace physically empty, went to Castel Gandolfo, and left the Cathedra of San Giovanni in Laterano physically vacant because, from that moment, he had been deposed by the convocation of an illegitimate conclave, called while the Pope was neither dead nor had abdicated. This discovery helps us understand how the declaratio text is something absolutely brilliant. Pope Benedict tells the truth, but structures the text so that, with a few minor strokes, with minimal modifications, it can be made to appear as an abdication. In fact, both Monsignor Ganswein and Peter Sewald confirm that Pope Benedict delivered to the Secretariat of State a document written solely in Latin. We know that Cardinal Secretary of State Bertone, together with Monsignor Giampiero Gloder of the Secretariat of State, made some stylistic changes and legal clarifications. So in a certain sense, they tampered with and modified this text. I don't know if they were the ones to change the commissum that Pope Benedict verbally uttered, which is the only thing that counts, altering it to commisso. But Latin syntax leaves no room for ambiguity. So this is a fundamental acquisition from my investigation, which will be reported to the relevant authorities. The petition I have filed will be presented to the Vatican Criminal Court. It will also be reported to Secretary of State Parolin, to the Swiss Guard, and to the Vatican Gendarmerie.
The significance is remarkable, given the topic and the figure we are discussing. We all remember it. It was an extraordinary case at the time, and so many questions and doubts surrounded the reason for Benedict XVI's resignation. Is he unwell? Was it an illness? Was he unable to continue? And Andrea Cionci has been working for years to answer the questions that surrounded those so-called resignations back then, but even more so today. Do you also have any updates regarding the petition on papal funerals, Andrea?
Yes. It was delivered yesterday to Secretary of State Parolin, and we copied the commander of the Gendarmerie, Broccoletti, and the commander of the Swiss Guard. So, they are informed that 6,000 signatories are requesting maximum transparency regarding the papal funerals. In fact, Bergoglio has announced that, upon his death, his body will no longer be displayed for the faithful to view openly, but will instead be enclosed in a coffin in St. Peter's.
For what reason, in your opinion?
Let's say I cannot judge intentions. We can assume that, given the usurpation of the papacy and the impeded seat of Benedict XVI, Bergoglio has certain concerns. Furthermore, there is a canon, number 1375, that strictly sanctions the usurpation of ecclesiastical offices. In theory, if we were to speculate, a simulated death could be the only valid exit strategy to maintain the status quo. One thing is certain. If a closed coffin is displayed in St. Peter's, the faithful, unless they have X-ray vision, will not know whether Bergoglio's body is really inside. We have therefore asked Parolin to advocate, in the appropriate venues, for the restoration of traditional funeral rites with the body of the Pope, or of the anti-Pope, visible to the faithful. The Church has always done it this way, so that the faithful could be certain of the Pope's death, thereby ensuring succession on the Petrine throne. If this restoration is not carried out, we ask that a commission of doctors appointed by the signatories of our petition verify Bergoglio's death to assure the faithful. I would say that everything is progressing quite rapidly. Even the Carmelite theologian, Father Giorgio Maria Fare, as you know, recently stated in a very long homily, lasting an hour and a half, why Bergoglio is not the Pope. Benedict XVI was in an impeded seat. Of course, he was immediately sanctioned. But thankfully, he will appeal, because the election of the Pope is not a matter of faith. There is an apostolic constitution that strictly regulates the procedures, and it is precisely from these procedures that it clearly emerges that Benedict XVI had not renounced according to Canon 332, paragraph 2, which requires renunciation of the munus petrinum, and therefore Bergoglio's election is null and void without any declaration to the contrary.
So let's close by perhaps asking you to share some details about any upcoming commitments you have.
Yes, so on the 31st, I will be in Modena, interviewed by Domenico Savino. Then, on November 9th in Pisa, the 10th in Bologna, the the 16th in Livorno, the 17th in Conegliano, and on the 23rd I'll be in Brussels. I would say this is noteworthy because my investigation is crossing national borders, and this is extremely important. Follow the conferences and insights on Andrea Cionci, Codice Ratzinger, on YouTube and other social media platforms as well.
Grazie Andrea, buona giornata a te.